sponsor topic. Beebs, I just sent a message to Delish Deli. We have an order coming from Let's Eat Bye. Okay, great, thanks, bye. Question. How's it been in the Philippines? Specifically here in Cebu? Maayo. What if Fred comes in, because he's about to come in? You could come in only if you have coffee. Yes. You could come in, thank you, sir. Thanks, Fred. Have a good one, see you soon. We got life, coffee. Secret cameraman is having a heart attack. How good this Village Deli coffee is behind him. If you could only see him. Therapy session with Dr. John and secret cameraman. Rolling. Oh my gosh, I always forget what I'm gonna say. Well, I kind of remembered what I was gonna say. Some weeks are good, and some weeks feel like you need to check in with the therapist. This week, I'm having one of those weeks. You know, when I first moved to the Philippines, it was like I moved to a paradise. It was like it was a slice of heaven here. The people are so kind, so sweet, so respectful. People don't raise their voices at each other. You never hear people arguing in public. Sure, people argue. Sure, people have bad days. Sure, things don't always go right for people here. But in comparison to the countries that I've lived in and traveled, people in the Philippines are so wonderful. Fast forward 3 months after I moved to the Philippines, I came back and forth here multiple times in 2019, but I moved here in January of 2020, really just in time for a pandemic, and everything that I planned, all the progress and the momentum that we were working on kind of came to a screeching halt. And as a result of that, the last year has been very different than I would have ever expected. I've been away from loved ones in the US. I haven't seen my kids for longer than it's ever been since they've been born. I missed Christmas for the first time with them. So many things that are a marker of everyday life are different for me now, have changed so much because of the pandemic. And I know that the pandemic has impacted so many other lives as well. You know, while I'm talking, if you have some thoughts on how the pandemic has impacted you, share them in the comments below. We'd love to hear what you're going through during this time as well. So when you're going through a difficult time, how do you handle that? Do you revert inside? Do you get angry on the outside? Do you drink? Do you sleep? What is it that you do to cope with life when life is challenging? You know, everybody goes through difficult times in life, and I think what separates one person from another person is often not whether or not they've struggled in life, not whether or not they've had setbacks or failures, but really what makes a big difference between one person to the next is how they actually respond to those challenges. I think that when it comes to dealing with difficulties, one of the first things that you really have to look in the mirror at and ask yourself is, how do I cope with stress? Think about that. Think about the last time you've really had a bad day. What did you do? Don't look at me for the answer. I don't know you. I'm looking at you and asking you, when you had a difficult day last, when you have difficult days in general, what do you do to cope with things? There's so many different ways that human beings can cope with things. Some of those can be very unhealthy, and some of those can be really productive and positive. You know, I think an example of a unhealthy way of dealing with stress is drinking, right? As an example. Some people, they go home every night and that's just how they deal with things. Yes, some of us drink too much coffee. That's not the type of drinking I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Others deal with stress a lot more positive. Maybe they'll go for a walk or for a run, or when I lived in the US, I used to spend a lot of time actually just going out, taking photos of beautiful places, getting away in my car, looking for a mountain or water somewhere and taking photos. And I found it was a really positive way for me to deal with stress. But what about you? How do you cope with stress in your life? Another thing to look at when it comes to dealing with difficult times in life is, I have no idea. I'm still trying to figure it out. That's the truth and nothing but the truth. Speaking of drinking, I need some coffee. A little bit better already. I gotta be honest, when it comes to dealing with difficult times in my life, I struggle a lot. I found that my levels of patience, especially going through this pandemic month after month for so long now, is really meant that my patience, which was like this big a year ago, is now like maybe negative. It's difficult to keep going at times with all of the challenges that years like this can bring. But if there's one thing that I feel that I really know that could really be helpful for, I think, anybody when it comes to dealing with stress and difficulties in life, is that you can't be stuck in your own head. You gotta get out of yourself. You've gotta focus on things that are gonna be positive. You need to get outside, out of your regular environment. And you also need to focus on things that are gonna be positive, things that make you feel like you're being productive. My buddy Roland here with the office that we share recommended this book to me by Mel Robbins called The 5-Second Rule. And it's a really simple premise in this book. What it is that she believes that most human beings, once they get a thought to do something, give up on it really quickly, often in about 5 seconds or more. So maybe somebody has the inclination to go for a run or to get something done that they need to with work. And if they wait more than 5 seconds, they're probably gonna give up on that idea because we're just so quick to procrastinate and to give up on things that are important. So what she says in her book is that we need to just simply count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and do it. And I think that for those of us going through a bit of depression, a bit of struggles during a year like this, it's really a very practical way to change your behavior and to get out of a depression or to get out of just not quite being yourself and being stuck doing things that are just making you more unhappy. So are there things in your life that you're struggling with this year like I am? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, do it is really a very practical way to get out of that funk, to get out of some of those struggles in your life. I'm gonna leave you with one final thing. If you're going through a tough time, think about one positive thing that you could focus on. Don't think about the bad, think about the good. What is one thing perhaps that you've always wanted to do? Maybe it's been in the back of your mind, but you've never started it. Let this year be a year that out of challenges, out of struggles, becomes a really beautiful year, a really exciting year. Find something in your life that you could focus on that's gonna make a difference in your life and in lives around you. And you're gonna find that it's gonna really boost your energy, make you feel better, and turn around those feelings of struggle and depression that you may be having. It's a tough year, believe me. Most days for me are good, but plenty are also a struggle, and this year more than most. Let me know in the comments below. How are you feeling? How are you coping with this year? Are good things happening or only difficult things? I'd love to hear from you. As always, take care, and I'll see you in the next episode.